It was a revolutionary, futuristic stadium idea that happened back in the early 2010s. The new Atlanta Falcons stadium with the Georgia Dome getting old. They needed a new place to play, host the SEC championship game, host the Super Bowl and other events, and they designed a crazy, super futuristic roof stadium that had actually several different models and mocks to how it was going to be designed. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go through all the different models that the Falcons had, beginning with the first one that I could find. And look, I'm sorry for this quality. This is the only photo. I'm guessing this rendering was from like 2009, 2010. This was before they really introduced the idea of a super stadium. It almost looks like a renovation to the Georgia Dome. That actually might be what this is, but it was kind of dubbed as a new stadium. You could see little see-through window area. Almost looks like a new roof that kind of lets in more light, and then also little windows above the upper deck that let in natural light as well. That was one of the original designs, and then the Falcons had two renderings that were futuristic to pick from. The first one being the greenhouse. You know, I like the greenhouse. I gotta be honest. The interior of it, it's very bland. Almost, it looks like Raymond James Stadium. That's what the interior reminds me of. Both of the upper decks are symmetrical, and I think the whole stadium mirrors itself. You can kind of see the way it comes off and on. This one would have been a true retractable roof, unlike their current stadium, Mercedes-Benz. With both sides of the roof being removed, the current stadium just kind of has a circle in it, but this was the other design that they possibly could have gone with. Other than this, there was also this kind of model, which I don't think was in serious consideration. It was one of the earlier models. It's got a big cover, little awning over the top. But overall, this, I couldn't find really any legitimate detailed renderings of it. So I'm just going to assume that it was an earlier model. And then these were kind of the original designs of the actual super stadium that is currently Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You can see the spaceship type design. It is beautiful, kind of interesting. The difference between the original renderings to what it is today. Of course, the renderings are going to look better, and really the one main difference that I see, the original renderings had kind of an octagon shaped. It wasn't an exact circle in the center. It was like an octagon to the way it would close, as opposed to the actual real thing being a circle. I would imagine once they designed it and put it into action, they realized it would just be better and more realistic to make it an actual circle around the center. And then they also designed a crazy bridge that cost a bunch of money. It says Atlanta spent $23 million building a pedestrian bridge for the Super Bowl that pedestrians can't use. This was supposed to be like a futuristic bridge going across the road right in front of the stadium. And the result of it is that, I mean, it is what it is, but the rendering's always going to be better. Imagine that. Dude, that would have been the design to use. It looks like a star. It literally looks like a star, and you also kind of have, it's like completely see-through. The upper ceiling, it reminds me of SoFi, if they would have went with that one, because right now the current actual stadium, you can call it a retractable roof or whatever, like the top of it, the circle's retractable, but even when that thing's open, it's just not getting a lot of sun, because it's such a small compartment for it to open. And you can see how the rendering really changed. I wonder if it was just a logistical problem, the design that they had before, because the way it was actually built, it's almost like it's a different compartment at the top, the way it opens. Like, the actual bottom doesn't move at all, as opposed to the original renderings. It was just supposed to be one big object, and it was all supposed to open and close together, as opposed to the actual final product to where the big awning doesn't move. It's just those little things in the center that open and close. I would imagine that's what ended up happening. They ran into problems with the way it would open and close. Just reading an article on some in-depth details of the roof, its total cost was in the hundreds of millions, which is very standard, especially again for a roof like this. The entire stadium cost $1.5 billion. And a little fun fact, apparently adjustments had to be made to fix a gap in the roof, which caused it to delay. There was extra work that was required to fill a gap during a 2017 tour. There was a report that they could see an additional chunk of steel had been bolted to make an adjustment in the slope. So there was a little bit of a problem because the roof was so detailed and required extreme precision. Maybe a little problem with the construction of it. They had to fix it, which caused a delay. But of course, at this point, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is a super stadium. The cost of it well over $1 billion. Really, anytime you design a retractable roof stadium, let alone a design this intricate, it's going to run you well over 1.5, 1.6 billion. And they're certainly getting their money's worth for it, with it hosting the college football, national championship already, the Super Bowl, the SEC championship, and of course it is the home to the Atlanta Falcons, and I believe some type of soccer club as well, because I see a lot of soccer games there in photos when I was researching this. But it is interesting to see the design of the roof change over time. That original design, I would imagine that's just not possible right now, or it would be really hard to do. But that ice design, that is so clean. That's just like an early rendering, so maybe it was just meant to kind of show what it would look like. But if they actually went with that to where you get more natural light into it, and it's kind of it doesn't look like the current actual stadium, it looks like it's two separate compartments. It looks like there's a giant overhang, and then built on top of that is the little capsules that move into place to open and close. This just looks like it's one big thing together that moves together, like the own retractable roof moves together to open and close. It's one cellular thing as opposed to the final model. But I just wanted to go over the Atlanta Falcons' different designs. The only other contender for the Atlanta Falcons' new stadium, it was the greenhouse, and I'm sure it was a little bit of a cheaper option. It almost looks like an MLS type thing. Yeah, that's just kind of the vibe I get from it. I don't know why. Not that it was a bad stadium. It would certainly be more, if you're looking for the pros of the greenhouse, it would certainly be an actual retractable roof. Mercedes-Benz, it just kind of has a circle. Even when it's open, it doesn't let in a ton of natural light, and you do also have to deal with pretty bad sun glare. That's why it's normally never open in Atlanta. Part of that is because of the weather, during the winter, but even in September, October, it's hard for them to really open it because it just doesn't open all the way. It's just a circle, as opposed to the greenhouse, which would have been a true retractable. When it's open, it is completely open. And then this design, this looks pretty cool for sure, but I would have to see more of it rather than just the few images that we have. Either way, guys, that is kind of the Atlanta Falcons Stadium saga. The evolution from the original renderings in 2013, 2014, the futuristic tunnel, to what the final result ended up being. That is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.